In September 1934, Cleveland, Ohio, was a city caught in the throes of the Great Depression. Amidst the economic turmoil, a gruesome discovery was made that would cast a dark shadow over the city for years to come. On the shores of Lake Erie, the lower half of a woman's torso was found, neatly severed at the waist. The body had been washed clean, and there were no signs of blood. This macabre find would be the first in a series of grisly murders that would come to be known as the work of the Cleveland torso murderer. Just a year later, in September 1935, the mutilated body of a man was found in the Kingsbury Run area, a poor neighborhood on the east side of Cleveland. The victim's head had been cut off, and the body had been similarly cleaned of blood. This marked the beginning of a killing spree that would terrorize the city and confound investigators. The press quickly dubbed the killer the Mad Butcher, Kingsbury Run. As more bodies turned up, each one more horrifying than the last, Cleveland descended into a state of panic. The killer's method was both meticulous and brutal, with a clear understanding of human anatomy. The victims were often dismembered and decapitated, their bodies left in public places to be found. The randomness of the killings and the lack of an apparent motive made everyone a potential target. The city's residents lived in fear, looking over their shoulders and locking their doors at night. Eliot Ness, the famed lawman who had brought down Al Capone, was brought in to lead the investigation. As Cleveland's safety director, Ness assembled a special task force to hunt down the torso murderer. Despite his reputation and the team's dedication, the investigation faced numerous challenges. The lack of forensic technology at the time meant that the detectives had to rely heavily on witness statements and circumstantial evidence. The victims of the torso murderer came from all walks of life, though many were transient workers or individuals on the fringes of society. They included men and women, young and old. The killer showed no preference, making it difficult to establish a clear profile of who might be targeted next. This randomness added to the terror and confusion, leaving the community and investigators grasping for any clues. Various theories began to emerge about the identity and motive of the torso murderer. Some believed the killer was a deranged doctor or butcher with extensive anatomical knowledge. Others speculated that the murders were ritualistic or the work of a sadistic psychopath. Theories about the killer's identity ranged from local drifters to prominent citizens, but none could be definitively proven. In 1936, under intense pressure to solve the case, Ness orchestrated a dramatic raid on the shanty towns of Kingsbury Run. Police rounded up hundreds of vagrants, questioning and detaining many in the hopes of finding the elusive killer. However, the raid yielded no substantial leads and was criticized for its heavy-handed approach. The torso murderer remained at large, and the killings continued. Investigators began to explore the possibility that the killer might be using a slaughterhouse or similar facility to dismember the bodies. This theory was supported by the precise and professional nature of the dismemberment. Detectives scoured the area for abandoned buildings or locations that could serve as the killer's lair, but no definitive evidence was found. The elusive nature of the murderer only deepened the mystery. Cuyahoga County Coroner Samuel Gerber played a crucial role in the investigation. His detailed autopsies provided valuable insights into the killer's method. Gerber noted that the precision of the cuts suggested surgical skill, leading to the theory that the murderer might have medical training. Despite Gerber's expertise and efforts, the case continued to baffle law enforcement. In 1938, Ness and his team identified a potential suspect, Dr. Francis Sweeney, physician with a history of mental illness and a connection to the Kingsbury Run area. Sweeney was subjected to intense interrogation, including a lie detector test, which he failed. However, despite the suspicion surrounding him, there was insufficient evidence to charge him. Sweeney was eventually committed to a mental institution, but the murders did not stop, leaving doubts about his guilt. As the investigation dragged on, the killer seemed to taunt the authorities. Bodies continued to appear, each more gruesome than the last. The lack of progress frustrated Ness and his team, who faced growing criticism from the public and the media. The nickname Torso Murderer became synonymous with fear and frustration, symbolizing the city's inability to catch a relentless killer. The final confirmed victims of the Torso Murderer were discovered in 1938. The killer's signature brutality was evident, and the sense of urgency among investigators reached its peak. Despite their best efforts, the case grew cold. Trail went cold, and the Torso Murderer faded into the shadows, leaving behind a legacy of horror and unanswered questions. The impact of the Torso murders on Cleveland was profound. The city's reputation was tarnished, and the psychological scars on the community ran deep. The case had exposed the vulnerabilities of the city's transient population and highlighted the challenges of law enforcement in an era before modern forensic science. The failure to apprehend the killer haunted Elliot Ness for the rest of his career, a blemish on an otherwise illustrious record. Over the years, numerous theories and suspects have been proposed, but none have been conclusively proven. Some believe that Dr. Sweeney was indeed the killer, while others suggest that the murderer could have been a transient or someone with deep-seated psychological issues. A lack of definitive answers has kept the case alive in the annals of true crime lore, inspiring books, documentaries, and endless speculation. The Cleveland Torso murders remain one of America's most notorious unsolved cases. The killer's identity and motives are still unknown, shrouded in mystery. The gruesome nature of the crimes and the inability to bring the perpetrator to justice have cemented the case as a dark chapter in the history of Cleveland. The story of the Torso Murderer serves as a chilling reminder of the depths of human depravity and the enduring quest for justice in the face of unimaginable horror.